And I got to make sure that I don't have this too loud. Here we go. Okay, I have it muted. I'm not monitoring this for questions. I don't know that anybody's actually watching. All right, so we had a couple of requests tonight from people on some help. One of them, which was, where is he? Bill McGeaney. Bill, you want to tell us your quagmire and what you need?
Yeah, I spent the last weekend really trying to finally test my equipment and do a good deep run. So I did 12 hours on NGC 281. Did it over at the York County Star Party. Had some excellent skies pretty much every night. And so I think my weakness now is understanding the workflow in PixInsight. I've got the book, so I'm using a book to help me understand the actual functionality of it. But I'm curious to you guys, like, what should the workflow be once you get past stacking?
All right, after you stack, so you have
Right.
two states, linear and nonlinear. So before you stretch and then after you stretch. And I'll give you what I do, and then people can chime in with the way they do it. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but the first thing I do is I crop everything out, so I only have the data that I'm going to work with. So when you stack, you're going to get a lot of artifacts along the edge. You want to make sure all those are eliminated, because you don't want that to factor into any of your functions, like, when you're doing background removal and stuff like that.
So I use dynamic crop, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's just slash that down, right?
Yeah, what I like to do with a dynamic crop is I'll pull the little triangle to the desktop and label it dynamic crop. That way, and then I'll make a copy of the image. Because I mean, you don't have to do it this way. If you do it my way, it's going to take you all day. But I'm anal like this. Like I will crop one and I'll leave the other one, right? And then I always have a reference to go back. Sometimes I might even put it on another workspace, but if you open up too many workspaces, it really slows down PixInsight. So if you find that's an issue, then don't do that. But you crop it first. You can do noise reduction. And what I would do is use one of the easy noise reduction tools found on the top.
You're applying the noise reduction before you start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have the new apps now that the AI stuff. Now I haven't processed anything in a while, and PixInsight just came out with an update, and I haven't looked at it yet. But you might want to buy those add-ons. I think what are they, like $99 for the deconvolution one? Deconvolution would be one of the very first things I do.
The blur exterminator?
Yeah, blur exterminator.
That's the plugin.
Yeah. Deconvolute, I mean, that works wonders. So I would do that, and then I would do the noise reduction. Do not do noise reduction before deconvolution or before blur exterminator. Always, the noise reduction is going to be the last step you do before you stretch it. Okay. And then you're going to also stretch, you're going to do noise reduction again after it's stretched. The idea is you don't want to go too crazy with the noise reduction while it's in a linear state, because when you stretch it, some of the artifacts can really come out. So you try it, and if you don't like it, go back and subdue it a little bit, and then it's a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
But so that's my workflow. I start with the deconvolution, color calibration. The deconvolution can be done with the app that John mentioned, the Blur Exterminator.
Yeah. Isn't there a deconvolution in PixInsight?
There is, but the Blur Exterminator is, leaps and bounds better. It's worth the extra money to pay for
The
it.
blur, that's the same thing that's in Photoshop, same guy.
Yeah, if you downloaded it to whatever piece of software, it's just the add-on. So
yeah, I think I picked up that. So I have that in there. Let's
okay, so you would do that, and then you would color calibrate it. And then you're going to decide how to stretch it. Depending on how big of an H alpha signal you're looking to get. If you're looking for, if you want to really bring out the H alpha, I would, oh, I'm sorry, let's go back. One thing I would do before I start everything, and I don't mean to confuse you, is I'll take out a luminance layer, and then I'll leave all this stuff, everything I just told you I'm going to do on the non-luminance layer. Then I'll do everything again, except for, obviously you don't do color calibration, on the luminance layer, but all the other processes, and you're going to need adjustments slightly different on the lum layer than you are on the color layer. So you want to process those two differently. Always do a lum layer and always do the color layer differently. So now you're going to have two images after you do the noise reduction to stretch. And if you have an H alpha signal, I would use the arc sine stretch. If you really want to bring it out, sometimes that makes your image look goofy. You can do a manual stretch, from using the screen transfer function.
right.
Or you can do a masked stretch, which is already a function in there. So then when you stretch that, you also will stretch your luminance layer. And then when you have those two stretched, you go into LRG recombination and move the color slider down. The one on the bottom, it should be at 50. Move it to the left. Sometimes I only need to move it to 45%. Sometimes it's got to go down all the way to 25. So move it a little bit, apply it, see how it works. Go back and forth. When you finally have the mixture you like, click on the noise reduction on the color, because that takes longer, and then apply that. And now this is your stretched image you're going to start processing. And from there,
Are you putting 2 rounds of noise reduction in there?
when we haven't, right now, I haven't done anything yet to the stretched
Okay.
image, except for the LRGB recombination.
Yeah. So after you get done cropping it, you go in and stretch it,
Right. Now
and
you
then
can
you
play,
run the blur.
yeah, from there, yeah. You do the blur exterminator before you stretch it.
Okay.
Although I think blur exterminator, you might be able to use it later on. It works best when the data is linear. After you've went through LRGB recombination, then you can go through then you have your workflow. you go through your curves. Then you have to decide what you need. You need HDR, you use HDR. If you need to use unsharp mask, you use that. I mean, and then when you're all done that, then you can do another round of noise reduction. And don't forget to use the SCNR with the green. Sometimes images really, there's a lot of green that shows up even after you calibrate the color. I know that this is, a lot, and I wasn't very specific.
No, I think I get it. I think I understand.
This is general basic workflow. And I mean, now I invite everybody else to put in their 2 cents.
Well, that it's a for me, I'm not a deep sky guy. I'm an EAA guy. I'll say that again. But John, you use Cyril, don't you?
Extensively.
Okay, now when you use AstroSharp, which is the poor man's
Yeah,
blur exterminator, do you do that after everything?
I do at the very end.
That's what I do at the very end. That's what I was wondering. And
So
secondly, what I'm wondering here, and this is really basic, but it shows you where I'm at. I'm using the one-shot color camera. I have an RGB. I'm not sure how to split out the luminance level. I don't do any of that.
It's
I've never
really
done that.
simple. There's just one button you push on the top.
Well, I'm in
And-
Cyril now. I'm in Cyril.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've never
But
done that
I
either.
haven't done that, and I haven't really. I haven't thought I needed to do it. I'm happy with what I'm getting, but the workflow is similar to what Lou was saying. What I would do. I mean, I crop mine is might be slightly different, but only because probably Cyril and Pix Insight. But I crop like Lou said. I will. Now, what I do is a background extraction next. I get rid of the background extraction. Then I go and I calibrate the color. I do a photometric color calibration, and then I go into a generalized hyperbolic sine, whatever it is, stretch. And I do that many times. I mean, you stretch. I probably stretch in about 8 steps, 10 steps. I'll bring it up a little bit at a time. And then before I do all that, I actually separate this. If it's a nebula, I will remove the stars, because the star net is available on Cyril too now. I link us. So I get rid of the stars first, and I do all the stretching on the nebula or whatever.
EAA guy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention all that.
And then I go.
Yeah.
I'm walking a very tight.
No, you're doing
I
this
love it.
perfect,
I love
Tom.
it. Yeah, I'm just teasing you.
The only thing I would
more
suggest-
involved as I do this, because I get better results if I do a little more.
Yeah, it sucks you in. It sucks you in.
I used to
The
have
only
a
thing I
minimum, no exposure more than 10 minutes, but now I'm up to half an hour, which is scaring heck out. But anyway, then I'll stretch and stretch and stretch. I've shown a whole series of those, and then I'll save the starless image. I'll do a recombine of the two, bring the stars up to where I don't like the stars. This is my preference. I don't like it where there's very, very few stars, because I want to reflect somewhat of reality. But if you were to go and slide it all the way on the right-hand side, you get 10 times the stars you'd actually see visually. And if you keep at the very bottom, you're still not seeing half the stars you would see visually. So I kind of bring it up at around a 5 usually, in that neighborhood. 4 to 6, never higher than 6, usually never lower than 4, as a scale of 1 to 10. It's kind of where I put it. And then once I do recombined, I save it, and I might run it through AstroSharp then, which is like Blur Exterminator. It's supposed to, keep the object sharp, but sharpen that, but not the noise in the background. It improves it. It's not quite. It sharpens the noise too, but it is a learning thing. It's an AI program, and the guy says, in 6 months and a year from now, it's going to be better, because you keep uploading images, and the AI learns with each new image. So as long as people keep uploading, it'll get better and better, and begin to. I don't know if it'll approach Blur Exterminator. Blur Exterminator is unbelievable, the results I've seen. I mean, it's nowhere near that but it is an improvement. Then if I want, I'll bring it into Lightroom where I'll just I will, if I run it through AstroSharp, maybe the background's a little noisy, so I'll do some denoising. I'll fuzz it a bit, to clean it up, and then I am
Yeah,
done.
Tom, and I heard that Lightroom has just had a major upgrade with their noise reduction. It's supposed to be,
But
Yep.
there's a caveat to that. It works on raw files only, like
Yes.
on CR2 files if it's a Canon like that.
Gotcha.
So if you're using it as
Okay.
astronomy, now if you DSLR, you're in good shape because it will do the noise. It is smart, and that did come in. But if you do it with an Astro camera, it's not in that format, so it won't do it. So you have to manually denoise, which isn't that big of a deal because you kind of just look at it and I just slide it over so it looks smooth,
Hey, listen, one of the most important things, though, I got to stress when you're doing any kind of deconvolution, it's got to be near the beginning, because if you do it after noise reduction, so Blur Exterminator is a deconvolution process. You got to do that as close to the beginning as possible, because otherwise you're not taking a true representation of what's happening, and you're giving it false data.
Mhm.
So you got to get that before any noise, definitely before noise reduction.
Yeah, the noise reduction I do is in Lightroom, which is my very last step is I do noise reduction.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know if that's good or bad.
before anything is stretched and all, but Lightroom is
No, I
also
don't stress. I am done everything except
That makes sense, Tom. Tom, that makes sense. Because I would always use normal photos. I always do noise reduction last because noise reduction blurs. It takes away data,
Yeah.
Lightroom is awesome when you're using
kind of
the raw
sad to
file.
see it go. You have this really sharp, all this detail in the galaxies, all these little dark lanes, but it's grainy too, so you got to just kiss it goodbye and slide a little bit, and you might cheat a little bit and keep it just a hair grainy, but still get some sharpness,
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's some good advice, guys. I really appreciate it.
One thing I like about Lightroom is that it will if you have like hot pixels on your DSLR, it'll remove those. But like Tom said, it's got to be the raw file from Canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lightroom is all, and I always, after I do everything in PixInsight, I always export to Lightroom mobile on my phone, because a lot of people are looking at their images on their phone.
Mhm.
So, I might process one using Lightroom on your phone, because the phone looks different than your monitor. And you can, and that's also free if you have Adobe Lightroom. I don't like to pay for the subscription, though. I have an older version of Adobe Lightroom. I think I paid, what was it then back then, $99 or something. What do they charge you now? $10 a month?
$10.59.
Just for Lightroom?
Lightroom, Photoshop, everything. It's the whole suite.
Oh,
Is it for Photoshop too, Tom? I thought Photoshop. Oh, I guess I'm thinking Illustrator. Never mind.
Yeah, not Illustrator, but Photoshop. There's three things that come with it. I just use Lightroom because I actually got Lightroom. I'm kind of like Mike here. When I retired, I got Lightroom because I was doing all this landscape photography. I was doing this landscape. I wanted Lightroom because the closest thing to like being in a Lightroom without really monkeying with the image, if you can dodge and mask in a dark room like I used to do, I can kind of do the same thing with Lightroom. So I kind of got really familiar with Lightroom, and so I just brought it right into the astronomy realm, and it's nice because you can do a little bit of sharpening besides the overall sharpening. You can just do the textured sharpening, which just works on the edges, and there's a couple of little things that are pretty nice. And I only use Photoshop actually if I want to color a picture, like the sun. We shoot a mono shot of the sun. I might color it. I might not.
Color it blue.
It's
Well,
not.
what is it, Tom?
Blue.
Tom, what is that in Photoshop? The raw mode. You can do everything right out of that raw mode, which is pretty spectacular. I forget what that's called.
Yeah, I'm not
The
sure.
live or something like that.
Yeah,
You load everything in, and then you can augment everything with just little
that's
touches.
pretty.
Bill, you want to show us what you have?
Sure. Can I share my screen?
This is up at your county.
Yeah, this is over in your county.
What did
it
you
was
use?
good. What's up?
What did you use for your?
I'm just using my DSLR, and
Okay. Wide angle
Let me-
lens, or kit lens. All I have is the kit lenses.
So
They work-
I use it through my, let me see, so it says host is disabled screen sharing, so I guess I can't share.
Hold on.
He'll click it.
Give me a second.
Lou,
Um,
while
so-
you
Not
do that,
not getting
while
out
you
of
do that, I
it.
have a quick question for
Pretty-
Tom. Tom, you were saying you when you use the blur exterminator,
Well, I use AstroSharp,
Astro Sharp.
which is the free
Okay.
version. I use
Okay.
Cyril and AstroSharp.
We use the free junk.
okay. And so when you do that, you were saying like it's a little bit of a trade-off because it may look a little pixelated or
Yeah, with the AstroSharp, I
Okay,
use it
Bill.
most of the time, but not necessarily in every image. I'll try it, and if I don't
Okay.
like it, I'll just take it as it was out of Cyril,
okay.
and I'll bring it in the Lightroom, and I'll tweak it in there because it gets too heavy-handed sometimes.
Exactly.
So I'll just look at it. In fact, it's funny, even with solar photography, even Registack sometimes really low over sharpens it, and I'll just take the stacked image right in Lightroom directly and just sharpen it there, because if it was a good seeing day, you know, you can get a lot
Mhm.
without going nuts with over sharpening, you know.
Mm.
Hey, there you go. Is this Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Pac-Man. Yep.
Your stars are a little bloated there, Bill. I would probably go through the data and remove the. You probably only have a few frames.
Start
of-
over, Bill. Forget it.
Lou.
No, I mean when you stack it,
I don't, Bill. I'm not
Hold on.
seeing. All I
The
see is a
screen's
thin
weird.
line on my screen.
the screen just
Yeah.
disappeared.
Should be there. I don't,
Yeah,
I
you
have
did
one
something.
little line, like
give it a
was
second.
in pieces of your screen, but now I see
Yeah.
just one
All
thin
right, let me
line.
reshare.
Yeah, try it again.
Tried to move it over to the other screen, which would make it easier for me. But,
Ah,
all right, let me reshare. So Tom, to answer your question, I use
I see
a
it.
Vixen. I use the Vixen ED80 SF, and I have a Canon 6D I'm shooting this with, and then I am doing the EQ6 for the mount.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, that's
I
good.
let this guy go. I tried to get it the first time. I wanted to just kind of knock out one image start to finish. So this is going to be my test project to really get through there. I
Nice.
can't tell because this stupid zoom thing on top, which image I have up. This might be, I used two because I was testing out the background extractions. And I wanted to see what the difference for the automated versus the automatic versus the,
This is with the
Dynamic.
dynamic background extraction.
yeah, it might be.
It says right there, DBE.
It's a DBE. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I would do is before you, I would stack these again, but go through and get rid of the subs that have the bloated stars. You have some.
Well, can't I just reduce the star size?
Well, yeah, but you'd be better off starting with better data. I mean, you probably only have maybe 10% of your frames that have bloated stars. So, and you will reduce the size when you remove the stars.
Well,
but
when you
also-
did this,
For this particular one, I would use arcsine stretch when you're ready to stretch it because there's a lot of H alpha signal there.
see, this is kind of the advantage, Bill, of pulling the stars out. If you haven't done that, like so
Yeah.
you're only stretching the nebula, so you're not making the stars brighter and bigger or anything like that, you know. So it kind of keeps
Exactly.
those just off on the sidelines, and you bring them in later, and you have some control then on how far you bring it. And an image like this, when you're done like this, if you bring it in the Lightroom, you bring up texture. You don't have to do you don't do the sharpening. If you do the texture slider, it's right below all the, like you got the exposure, contrast, that kind of thing, and all the shadow, white, you know, that right below there you have a texture, a clarity, and a dehaze. If you slide that texture up, it doesn't add much noise, and it sharpens those stars up a bit too. They'll make them tighter.
Okay.
So,
Good call.
and that's just an
Yeah.
easy thing to do without any muss or fuss, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point on removing the
Blur
stars.
exterminator too will automatic. Do you have that?
I don't know if I've
That does wonders with stars as well. Try
Yeah.
it, but I would try both.
I have blur exterminator, I think.
Yeah, Blur Exterminator is like the king of the hill as far as like limiting noise and shrinking your stars and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
think
I used to have that on
Tom is onto
Photoshop.
something. Remove the stars before you stretch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I used to have that on Photoshop, and you get a package deal for PixInsight, I think. Like you had discount if you bought. So I think I bought it, if I recall. I bought it on here.
I can show some before and after with Astro or the sharpening one.
Sure.
Sharp.
Sure.
Whenever,
Let's see.
but take your time. No rush.
Bill, once again, what you used DSLR and what was
Yeah,
your
so-
what was your lens or what?
Yeah, Mike. So what I did, this is I call it the very poor man's setup now, since everyone has these multi-$1,000 systems for photography.
Not me.
Not me.
I have just my Canon 6D, which I use for daytime photography, and I put it on a 80 millimeter EDSF, and then from there I have a guide scope that uses the planetary, the ZWO planetary, and I have the autofocus running for this 80 millimeter, and then I put it on a sturdy mount and just run it out of ASI Air essentially. So I, which is for me great because I don't have to use laptop, and then I can just run it out of a Jackery 300 the whole night and not have any problems.
Is it a 10-minute exposure?
Yeah, they're 10-minute exposures.
That's
How many
impressive.
are there, Bill?
73.
You know,
And
10
no
minutes,
filter.
10
Wow.
minutes might be a little bit long. Where did you shoot this?
So this is out. So the York County Star Party is right on the Susquehanna.
Maybe. What's the brittle on there?
Then one of the nights it was probably closer to Bortle 5 or Bortle 4. It was pretty much like 4 to 5 the whole time. But the one night where I was able to string up most of these shots was the more transparent and clear night.
Oh, so sorry.
Nice.
Good work, Bill.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I see the mouth. I love it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand like what the proper ISO will be. I used this 6400 was what I shot with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what,
a little bit too high.
Yeah, this is a little side note that Nico Carver gave a talk, and because people are asking that what thing, he goes, he never goes below 1600 because it gets too noisy. If you drop down to, if you go to 800, it's definitely noisy. You go to 400, it's very noisy because these cameras work kind of inverse the way you think, the way you normally think.
Oh yeah.
So he usually shoots between 16 and 3200 is what his ISO typically is.
With your camera, though, it's not modified.
If you
but
go
it does
too
pick
high,
up.
it begins to get. It's kind of like the read noise versus the I don't know what you would call it, but I see it in the planetary cameras too. If I'm sitting there, if I'm at low gain, the equivalent of low gain, which is like low ISO, it's a very the read noise is maybe 3 times higher than if I raise the gain to maybe 200 out of 0 to 500. But if I start going like beyond if I get close to 400 out of 500 possible, I begin to get sparks and stuff, you know what I mean, on the screen. So I'm getting some other kind of noise, actually electronic noise of some kind, So it's a funny thing.
If you want to build, we have a talk on that. I think it looks like a bullseye when you look at the YouTube list. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm pretty impressed though for your camera because it still has the IR cut filter in it. Look how much IR signal came out there. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a nice shot, Bill.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
so
you.
maybe you did use the right eye. I mean, that is a pretty high
Yeah, I mean, it looks
ISO,
like it.
but since you don't have an IR cut
Background looks-
filter, that might have helped. But
It doesn't look noisy. I mean, it looks
yeah,
smooth.
yeah, well, yeah, because you're stacking so many of them. So I'm curious, Bill, what this would look like after you process it.
Yeah, it might take me a few times to get a good one.
Hey,
Yeah,
look,
it's hard.
I'm reprocessing images that I took, 5 years ago because I know more now than I did then.
Yeah.
So save this data. You
And I
might
agree
want
with
to come back
Lou.
to it.
The most important button that I use the most is undo.
Yeah. Well, John,
It's-
I have a folder that says final image, and there's like 18 of the same image.
Final, for real, final 3.
Really final. No,
Yeah, yeah.
or we mean it final.
We've been
Exactly.
Not joking
yeah,
around anymore. Final.
I love it. Yeah, experiment.
And you know, like if the sun comes in one way in your room, it reflects off the monitor the other way. You know, or your wife turns the light on or something. I don't know. I mean, or if you just woke up, or if you can't sleep at night, you know, you're out cross-eyed, everything looks goofy.
Tom, I don't know how Black Forest was, but we had 2 nights where it did not do up at all. And
Black
I didn't have to
Forest
use the dew
was,
heaters at all.
Black Forest, as far as dew goes, especially on Friday night, it was like a rainforest with the dew. I mean, before the sun went down, anything that was like the plastic and the vinyl stuff, and that gets through first, it was already covered. The
Oh,
sun
really?
I mean, that's where I was. The first night, I didn't bring a real photo rig. I just brought my my little planetary camera, the fisheye lens. I shot a little time lapse thing, but I was using I have one what I'll call a large scope. It's not by many, but I have a 14-inch Orion Dob. I brought that. I didn't use it out there because it's useless at my house here, but I used it and I was good till about 1 a.m. and my secondary just got dewed to pieces. I mean, your eyepieces, they weren't in your pocket. You let them out for 5 minutes or even less than 5 minutes, they were covered with dew. So you really had to keep everything in your pockets and stuff. Now, Saturday night, it was supposed to be, actually clouds were supposed to roll in, but it was much steadier. The air on Friday, I looked at the planets at the end sort of, and they were kind of boiling away and there wasn't a lot of detail. But on Saturday night, there was a heck of a lot of detail on the planets. It was really nice. And it wasn't as dewy. I mean, it was a little bit wet, but it wasn't much at all. But Friday was a disaster as far as dew. I mean, it was really wet. And one thing which was different out there, which you don't usually see, is an awful lot of planes because of the hurricane. I guess people were flying further inland, and there was a front coming through the other way. So everybody's going through this channel there. So there was as many planes as I have in my backyard here. And I'm, in Northeast Philly type of thing. And so they're, flying overhead from the airports. But I was surprised.
Yeah, Tom, we got dew on Saturday. Saturday was a pretty rough night for dew. I mean, every night was almost perfect. Saturday we had right around 11 o'clock, clouds rolled in, then they rolled away, and it was 4 nights this year, stealing 4 nights in the dark sky.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Yeah,
on the new moon. That's
yeah.
We haven't had any luck with anything.
Yeah, I heard it was good. I went up Friday, but the guys who went there Thursday said it was very transparent and a very good night. But there's a funny thing. The sky looked even. It looked nice and even, and all the stars and everything. It looked pretty good. But I put my all sky camera, which is kind of like a fisheye lens. It's like a semi fisheye, It comes with the camera, the ZWO cameras on some of their cameras. And I'm taking the first few images. I'm taking like 25-second exposures. And I'm seeing something in lines on the east and west. I'm thinking, what the heck is this? I'm looking up and I can't see anything. I'm thinking, some kind of weird artifact. I said, I'll have to go and look at this when it's all done. Well, here, it was very high clouds. They were not visible at all. They looked clear as can be. And there was no obvious part of the sky where the magnitude dropped to 4 or 5. I mean, everything was like, close to 6 everywhere. But there was these cloud bands just going by. It was really weird. But the camera was sensitive enough to pick it up, Weird. I was amazed. But I'll show you that, and I'll show you all the planes too. I'll to get later on. I'll show you just a quick video I took, like a 20-second video of maybe 4 hours of sky.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I have a good starting point for how to go through the path. I've been relying on. I don't know if you guys use this book. I've been relying on this book to kind of interpret the processes for me a bit, which has been very nice. I find that's what's lacking a lot of tutorials online. It's just they just tell you things. And it's like, well, that's nice, but I actually want to understand what the hell I'm doing.
Adam Block, put him in. Type that. He is very informative. He'll tell you why he does stuff, He's, I mean, and he's painfully detailed. Like he won't skip a step. You know, he won't assume anything. You know, and he will explain. You know, put out if you want to know Pix Insight, type in Adam Block, and then Pix
Right.
Insight,
Sounds good.
and
Yeah.
you know, whatever specific process you're looking for.
I watched his tutorial on GHS, the generalized histogram stretch. Up my game. I
Yeah,
was joking that stretching is a dark art, I tell you.
but I'm bummed.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Can't get on the drums back there.
I did not.
Clever devil.
No pun intended. Thank you. No, it's evil.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, I'd love to see some pictures.
I have a question about my Saturn picture, which didn't come out as I would have intended for it to come out.
Okay.
So I was curious if I could have some help with that because it came out much blurrier or than I was expecting it to come out based on what I saw from the recording here. Do you want me to?
Sure,
Yeah.
you can share it. But
Yeah.
before you start, Xander, a lot of the planetary images, as Tom will tell you, the seeing is what's going to be limiting.
Yeah, seeing is the most important thing.
Yeah, if the seeing
And
is
a bunch of
bad,
other things, but seeing, you can't beat seeing. If seeing is bad, if it's a bad night, you're kind of out of luck a bit. I mean, just look at something, but you won't get anything that you're going to brag about, probably. Jill
Yeah,
had a very nice Saturn picture in the
I-
news.
I recorded this on Friday night and it seemed very hazy, not hazy, but like it was also lower in the sky at that point in time too. How do I?
Yeah, low isn't your friend either because you're a lot more turbulence low because you're going through more atmosphere. So it just keeps magnifying the problems. Saturn gets around the meridian, I think, at about midnight-ish, I think, or 11:30 or so now.
So
when is that
That's
opposition?
real good.
This
And that's
month?
at the highest point, but it's still Saturn's still not real high in the sky. It's at its highest. I think it's minus 12 in declination, which means at its highest, it's probably about 38 degrees above the horizon at the meridian. And if it wasn't close to that, it's probably maybe only 25 degrees or so above the horizon.
You know, we should get Agapius in here with his new observatory. What does he have? A 16-inch scope or?
Forget what he has up there,
Yeah,
But-
it's an enormous scope.
but he's a first-class planetary photographer. That guy.
We see
Yeah,
your
and he's got
desktop.
like subarc second seeing almost every night. Lucky bastard.
So we see your desktop.
In a
Xander.
home folder?
We see a folder, but we don't see an image.
There's something that says what? It's gone, man.
Oh, he's going.
Yeah, I wonder if he dropped.
What did I say?
Tom, what did you say?
Yeah, really.
Your stars look too big there.
I didn't say that.
When you said that,
Oh my god.
your stars are too big.
I'm afraid to show any pictures now.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I'm just-
I hope he comes back.
yeah, it looked probably technical difficulty.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see because I mean, actually planetary photography is actually I think easier than there's less steps. Put it that way. There's some fussy steps, but there's less of them. You know, and processing there's less things that can go. I mean, you do certain things, and it's a pretty narrow path with the steep sky stuff. Boy, you can get to the weeds and just off in the left field. And people play with the colors and they play with how many stars. There's a lot of things you can do. You know, it's more of an art. You know,
I like how you described that, fussy steps. That's exactly right.
yeah, there's a lot of little fussy things.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta be on top.
I have to. I subscribe to the Joe Lamb.
For somebody who hasn't done that kind of,
I know Joe is big on collimation being just right, and I actually collimate in the position the scope is going to be. I just did it as I'm going to go out tonight after this, and I'll move the scope to the exact right where I expect Saturn to be, and I'll collimate there. I won't collimate in the home position or in the 0 position because the tube. Well, it's a long. I got a long tube. I have an 8-foot tube, so I really have to be careful. But I do all that stuff at that point, and that helps, I think.
Makes sense. Is Swayze Xander?
I don't know. He's muted. I don't know if he knows he's muted. I suspect it might be. He might have a problem with his computer. Maybe he lost. Maybe the image wasn't on that computer. You know, he had a different one.
Right.
Nope.
No,
Gone. We scared him away again.
Hear him
man.
again. Well,
Does anybody else have an image while we're waiting for Xander?
I got 3 short things. 3 short pictures. Well, I got
Sure,
3 short things. So I can show you what I got. Maybe. That's not what I expected.
I gotta start processing my stuff.
This can't be me. iPhone. I don't have that. Select a window. He's already in. Okay. I don't know what the iPhone thing was there. Okay, here is my one deep sky type of thing. And this was kind of Xander's in the waiting room. This was kind of a challenge. This was taken when the moon was 98% illuminated in the sky.
Oh, wow.
This is straight up. This is how long is it? 2,100 seconds. So it's, what is that? 1,800 is 30 minutes. It's probably about a 40-minute exposure. The moon is less. It's about 22 hours past full. So the sky is as bright as all get out. But the dumbbell's bright too, though. So I just did this. I didn't use any narrowband fillers. This is a not for photographic use UHC visual filter, which I use, which if you look at it says, this is not for astrophotography. So that alone is kind of like a wet paint sign for me. You know, you gotta touch it. So anyway, this is with that filter. So for
It
me,
didn't open on for my.
vacuum.
It looks like it's opening on my window.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen, Tom.
Your
Yeah.
cable.
You can't. Well,
It looks like you just clicked it, but it didn't load it.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
see
it
a
didn't
little
open?
circle spinning.
oh,
Wait.
I'll change pictures. I'll show this. Is that different?
No, re-share your screen maybe.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
I need
It's the iPhone broke it.
Maybe Xander broke the.
This is
internet.
why
It's
Zoom
not
had to
an
go
iPad
back to
thing.
the
It's like a share thing. It's like that's not me. That must be.
My desk is, my thing is a mess.
Okay, we see it.
Can you see my
I see your
My-
mouse.
folder?
You see
Yep,
your
see the
mouse.
See your
folder.
folder.
You right click or open it.
Oh, it looks like you just click something.
I just
Yep.
clicked
Next,
Maybe Tom, maybe open it first and then go to it.
yeah, I'll leave it open and I'll share it. How about that?
Right.
Yeah,
When it
here
opens,
comes
it doesn't
Xander
do
again.
anything.
Yeah. How's that?
Let's see. Oh, there
All
it
right,
is.
here
We
goes.
see it.
Ooh,
There's
look
the
at
big.
that.
Wait, that's with the
Nice.
moon out. That's pretty.
That's
impressive.
with
That
the
looks great.
23 hours, 22 hours past full from my backyard.
Not
Yeah.
bad, Tom.
Excellent,
With the-
Tom.
yeah.
That's actually very impressive.
With the UHC filter.
Yeah, just
Not for
the
photography.
visual UHC filter
Right.
cost
Oh,
50
that's
bucks.
killer.
Nice.
It's a low end UHC filter, actually. I bought it because I made the binoculars. I needed a second UHC filter. And I feel like spend a lot of money because I'm buying 2 eyepieces, 2 this, 2 that. So I said, all I need is a cheap UHC filter. So this is like Astronomics. They sell them for 50 bucks. And there you go. But I like it because it's sort of broadbandish a bit. And when I use it, I prefer to use this one versus my more expensive one because this one, the stars visually look white.
Yeah.
With the other one, they have that greenish blue tinge, which I can't stand. That's why I don't like using an O3. I got an O3 filter. I've used it about 4 times in my life. And I don't like the way the stars look. So this has like the hydrogen alpha band, which is pretty narrow, but it basically lets all the light from the O3 and it keeps going down to where the hydrogen beta is in the blue. That whole thing is wide open. And that's what I got here. But as a result, everything looks sort of, because I already have RGB, so it's kind of like more natural light. It's almost like I didn't
Yeah.
have a filter on.
Yeah,
And,
there's no blue.
and that way,
Yeah,
And,
the lighting is or the colors in here are spectacular. I
Yeah,
love the star colors.
Stars don't even look bloated.
When you stretch your stars, did you do that separate?
I did the star mask bit where
Right.
I stretch. Yeah, I stretched the
Right. So
the
you
nebula.
probably
And then I
used
brought the stars in, but I brought a lot of. You see, I brought a lot of stars in versus a few because I like
so at that
I like all the
step,
stars that are in the nebula actually, and I wanted to bring them in.
I learned this just recently. On that step, you can pick between independent channel stretch or like even weighted luminance or human weighted luminance.
Ah,
And then if you pick independent, all your stars are white. If you pick even weighted or human weighted, they keep the color.
oh,
So it
I
looks
did-
like you did a stretch, the independent stretch.
yeah. Whatever
And
the
then-
default was, I didn't
Yep.
even look at that. No,
That
honestly,
I
mean,
only learned that recently. So you can choose if you want color or not, and you chose no
that's cool.
color.
I was wondering why my stars never had much color.
Yep, yep. I only learned that recently.
Well, there you go. Okay, there's that picture. Now I'm going to stop. I'm going to reshare two more things real quick. Let me open them up on my screen here.
That's
And
great.
Xander's on deck. Don't worry, Xander.
Okay, hang in there, Xander. Where at here? Okay. This is
Wow.
Rom.
I can't get enough of these solar pictures.
Oh man, it was so good this weekend too.
Oh boy, it was a beauty. I saw actually the guy next to me had this rig, which was the best solar view I've ever seen. I mean, and it wasn't anything particular. It was like it was a 10-inch Celestron, I think, or I'm not sure. It was a scat though, an SCT. And he had maybe a 4-inch blocking filter in front of it as a mask, and he used a Daystar filter on the back end. And the problem on this, if you look this weekend, you know this same problem went on. This was on Wednesday,
Yeah.
on Thursday, Friday, and a different one appeared actually Saturday, but it was roughly the same area. But it was just they were huge, and it was just beautiful. But this is the first day of the whole sequence thing. But this is just a couple different things over a few minutes apart. You know, basically an hour and a half total, top to bottom. But it's kind of neat to watch these things change. I was going to make a GIF, but I had relied on feature tracking with SharpCap, and it's kind of an experimental feature. And it worked for about 20 minutes. And I said, fine, I'm out in my garden picking tomatoes and stuff. I come back in, the whole thing is shifted off. You know, I was like, oh crap. So I just have these I'm made into like snippets just to see the evolution, as it were.
You still got
Tom.
tomatoes coming in?
What's this?
You still got tomatoes
Oh, yeah,
coming in?
actually, I didn't pick them. So I picked them on Thursday because I'm going to Black Forest on Friday. So I picked them then. I only have 6 plants, but I picked 52 tomatoes today.
Wow.
So I've been doing, but actually it's an off year for me. I usually have done even better, really.
Hey,
Okay,
Tom, just out of curiosity on that last, the prominences, it got me thinking, do you ever do a exposure stacking for those? I'm curious what it would look like.
Exposure stock. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
you
just straight up normal daytime exposure stacking that you would do for like a river, or you do for
mean.
waterfalls.
No, I don't. No.
I just
I
curious.
love this, Tom.
Yeah, this is great, Tom.
Look at those clouds.
Oh, white
Now,
light.
visible at all. I mean, you would say the sky is perfectly clear, but you can see, look at those planes that are going by. Cherry Springs, it's hardly see anything. I guess you may have seen this, Bill, but there was a Starlink launch,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Starlink, yeah.
and it
I
came
got a
up and
pic.
overhead. And that was I've never seen one before, and it was if you
Creepy.
didn't know what it was,
Start this from the beginning.
pretty eerie.
It reminds me of you guys ever see was it frog or toad eggs?
It'll repeat. Here it goes. This is the beginning. But
Wow.
The Milky Way.
I love the Milky Way.
I think
I
that's
love
sky
the
glow.
action.
5-second exposure.
Tom, that looks like sky glow to me.
But it's that's what I was wondering too. That's what one of the guys said. But because it is very striated and stuff and
Yeah.
even,
Yeah.
but and it is moving, but not at the same rate that the stars are. You can see it.
I don't think that's clouds. I think you caught some sky glow.
It might be.
You know?
But if you look in the middle, you can see it kind of moving, you know. So I didn't know what it was, but I couldn't see it visually.
Yeah,
can
they
see
look
more
like
of them.
magnetic bands to me. You know, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was.
Yeah.
I was surprised it didn't fog up. It was so foggy on Friday night. But I guess like, unlike you guys who use cool cameras, I use a planetary camera, so it heats up. So it kept the
Keeps it
lens
warm.
from fogging. I think because it was a really foggy night. This
Uh-huh.
was just 4 hours. This is still I think the battery on my little laptop died, and when I was driving it with, but anyway, there's Jupiter coming in on the
Yeah,
left.
Jupiter over there, right?
But
That's
anyway,
beautiful.
that's what I was hoping for, which would make it really beautiful, is to have a really bright comet come streaking through, and I could save that frame off, But no luck.
Yeah, did
Next
you see
year.
the, there's
Next
one,
October.
there's
Yeah,
one
well,
meteorite that, one
I
meteor
tried to
that
get
came
Gemini
down.
shower with no luck, but I'll try it again. If it's easy to stub. I still on the tripod, aim it up in the air, and just let it go, and what happens happens. Anyway,
Mhm.
I'll stop sharing so Xander can.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah,
that exposure, how long were the individual exposures, and did you pause in between or you just let it rip?
it was 25 seconds between, and I used Sharp Cap. I put a sequence that basically had to kick off right away. So if one was done, the next one started.
Okay.
So there might have been a 1 second delay, but maybe nothing.
So they're like
Next.
just about half a minute, 25 seconds, you said?
Yeah, 25 seconds. I think I played around at first in the backyard a couple months back when Lou made his first one. It goes, why don't I try it? I never thought about trying that. I got the same kind of lens. So Lou gave me the idea. So I went and I wanted to see how long I could go, and I think I went to 30, and I looked at individual frames, and if I blew it up, I could just see the hint of a unround star. But 25, it's pretty round.
And what lens were you using, or?
It comes with it's an ASI 462 camera. A lot of their small planetary cameras that have the short back distance come with a fisheye lens, just part of the camera.
Okay.
So I
Okay,
just
cool.
put it on a tripod, aimed it up, and walked away for 4 hours and was busy using the 14-inch looking at things.
It's like a $15 lens that it comes with, and it takes such.
Yeah, it's got to keep it too expensive because the cameras
Oh,
are
you're a
that.
master at that, you know?
What's this?
You're a master at that. We did that, we did that workshop in March, and you pulled that thing out and inside the Radner room, and
Yeah, I used
that
the
was really
lens.
pretty, that was a very good idea, you know?
Well, it was good for the demo purposes to show gain
Yeah.
and shutter and stuff.
I remember that. It helped me learn which way's up on the camera.
Very, very, very smart.
Anyway, so Xander,
What you got, Xander?
let's see your Saturn.
I'm so sorry about that. My computer shut off for like no apparent reason. It made
No
a weird
worries.
noise and then it shut off. And then I
Noise is
tried to
good.
come again. I tried to come on again and then it booted me off as soon as I tried to unmute. That was I've never had anything like that happen before.
That's all right. Go for it.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, if it happens again, we'll wait for you.
So hopefully this opens. It's
Hey, I see
very
it.
You go.
blurry compared to
Did you
what
put it through wavelets?
Yes, I did.
So
It
tell
should
us
be
what you
clear.
did.
Yeah.
So what I did to start off with, and I haven't done this, I did this, I think 2 nights ago, and prior to that, I hadn't done it for over a month because it's been cloudy for so bad for me, at least here. So what I did first was I took the pictures, and I have the pictures up if you want to see them. But first, I took them from the files, and I put them in a PIPP right here, and then I put them in an auto stacker. And then after auto stacker, I put them into Registax. And then that's it.
How many of them did you, when you put them into auto stacker?
Mhm.
I mean, you put all of them in there?
I took this one I think was 3,000 images to start off with.
You took
you could let
3,000
auto
total,
stack-
and you stacked
sorry.
3,000.
Yeah, let Tom, you're better at this. So
So I took 3,000 to start off with, and I believe I took half of them.
Okay, that's a lot probably.
did you
but
look at the graph?
3,000. Yeah, you want to stack with the planets a fair number, but I noticed that you drizzle. It's not doesn't help. I found I've tried it. I tried it just recently again to see if I could get something, but it was it's better not to. Better to have a smaller, sharper image than
Okay.
Why don't
So-
you
What do
start
the
with
originals look
AutoStacker
like?
first before you go into here? I want to see what you did with an AutoStacker.
So if I pull up the original,
yeah. What's your scope, Xander?
I have a 4-inch Makasanov, I think that's how you say it, Cassegrain.
Okay.
A MacCast.
Yeah.
And you got a ZWO camera, obviously.
Yes.
You're using that. And you've processed moonshots before.
I've processed Venus. Here's the Venus that I had.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
think that's Venus.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
play
ever
the video of the one you just did. You have it.
The video is awful dark. I'm not exactly sure if I
Yeah, if it-
should have had.
there you go.
It should have came up clearer than what you got.
Without knowing anything about the seeing conditions, I'd almost say focus.
Interesting, because that's what I was having the most problems with. That's what makes it work.
Saturn's tough.
I spend so much time fussing with focus, and I'm pretty new, and I don't have an autofocuser.
The best way with Saturn is to get the moons. You look at the
Mm.
you look at pinpoints on the moons.
Yeah, the moons are pretty dim though. I mean, well, of course, I don't
If
know.
you can see that.
I've had up and down. When I shoot for Saturn, I look for Cassini's division, which is a little black gap on both sides of the rings there. You'll see about in the middle, you'll see a little black if you can focus it, and in there. And it's tricky. If you're focusing by hand, it's tricky because every time you touch the scope, of course, it's vibrating, only making it worse.
Yeah.
Do you think
But,
an autofocuser would be a good investment, or would that
Definitely.
not?
Well,
Okay.
even electric, any kind of electric focuser is kind of good. I mean, I have a real cheapy thing, about as cheap as you can get, and I don't have it permanently attached. I use it for all 4 of my scopes. I just Velcro it. I got Velcro strips on all my scopes. I just pop it on, pop it off, but even just visually, just in the backyard, if you're using it, especially if you're using the planets and you got a couple hundred, even like 200 power, even 150 power, just touching, the focuser. You learn this at like star parties too. When someone wants to focus, you tell them, go ahead, here's the knobs to focus, but it's shaking like the Dickens, when they touch it. So the last couple this year, I've been putting my electric focuser on my 6-inch when I bring it to star parties, just on to push the buttons, and everybody does a lot better that way, and they can really, just focus very easily.
You
But-
did great at keeping
Thing
it
is, when the-
centered and
When the
like
seeing is going in and out like this, your focus doesn't have to be 100% perfect because, sometimes it's in focus depending
Mhm.
on the ripples of the atmosphere.
It's
Obviously you're going to get more in focus frames when it is
you
in
can
focus.
see it going in and out of focus, which means it's a pretty rough night, or it's pretty low on the horizon,
Yeah.
or the scope is warm. Did you have the scope where a different temperature than the outside? It's good to a scope that's not the temperature of the outside air mimics bad seeing.
Hmm,
Yes.
right.
So you have to be. So it's good just to stick it outside for a couple hours, like 2 hours, or
Mm.
everybody says like a half hour, but with a 4-inch, probably, half hour is fine. An hour is better, probably though.
Yeah. Not in the sunlight, obviously.
But
You don't have to have
once the
an
sun goes down.
you
in the
can
sh-
manually focus this, but you really just have to like tap it almost like you don't even think it moved, and then wait 5 seconds and look at it,
Yeah,
and
you're
just
really
keep
doing
repeating that. It's
Yeah.
annoying, but you can do it.
It was
depends.
very
Go ahead.
it was very tricky because the cord was in the way of where I was at. So when I was trying to spin it, it was moving the whole cord, and then it was
Ah.
going in and out of frame and in and out of frame and in and out of frame.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
part of your problem there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
part. I mean, with the planets, we had this guy, Ilya Agapios from Cyprus. He's an honorary club member, and he gave some talks to us on Zoom. And I mean, one of the things he emphasized was frame rate. And that's a thing, because the moments of clear seeing are very short. You know, it might be a half a second or a second. So if you can get the frame rate, how many frames per second you're at coming into your camera up close to 100, or at least maybe 70 to 80 with Saturn, 70 to 80, 70 or higher is pretty good because it's not that bright. Maybe you can eke it up to like 100 or 120 or something if you really crop down the region of interest so it's pretty tight. So your file sizes are smaller. So that's good. So if you could shoot, 10,000 frames in the time it took to get 3,000. And if you're taking the best 2,000, well, now you're throwing away 80%. So you're getting a little better quality. What I do with Auto Stacker to see how many frames to use, I don't use their graph as much, although the fellow who wrote it says basically 50% is kind of like where you want to be, frames above 50%. They don't have to be in the top 20 or 30%, but 50% on up is good. They have a little slider on Auto Stacker that like there's a left-hand side where it has all the operations occurring, and stuff, the analyze and the stack button. But on the right-hand side, it has a little slider at the top. And after you analyze the image, it puts them all in sharpness order. And what I do is I click on that slider and move it to the right. And there's one thing that says like frame number, and one of them has a Q or something like that, Q or quality. It might just be a Q.
Hey, Sandra, can you start Auto Stacker? Because I want to follow Tom, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Who,
Tom.
me? Or Alexander can start if he wants. Yeah. I can just now. Okay. Actually, in this case, it's in this capture. If you look at the very, you can. Why don't you go and open your open a file up? It's so funny what you get used to. I always do this with the screen that's on the right, on the left, and the left on the right. It's almost like, what is this? Yours is backwards. Okay, now hit the analyze button, and it looks like how many frames you have. It'll tell me after it does the analyze buffer and analyze. It's going to tell us. Okay. 3,000 frames. Okay. Now, if you look at that in that left-hand screen, you have the slider at the very top. It says frames, and it's on frame 1. But right now, that's a zoom button. If you go right up, you see right there where you were, it says Q. It says 100%. Go down a little bit. Yeah, right there, 100%. Now, what I do, I watch that, and I look at the slider on top. I go up to the frame slider, which says frames, and that's like, and I slowly move it to the right. And if and I watch that Q till it hits 50, and that's kind of where I don't want to go too far down. Now, if you keep sliding, now slide it to 1,500 where you were. If you took half of them, keep sliding it to the right till you see 1,500. So you're down you're down to like 31%. And that's really kind of low. So it's going to start hurting your image. But if quality is only like 100 or so before it starts to go bad, well, that's not great either, because only stacking 100 frames is probably going to be a pretty noisy image, and you won't be able to do much sharpening on it because it's not many frames. You try to get a lot of frames when you sharpen. For me personally, I try to go below 1,000 when I sharpen, and preferably if it's a good night. There's some nights where it's ridiculous. You'll shoot 8,000 frames. And on frame 4,000, it still says like 60%. That's a really good night. And then you stack 4,000 frames, and you can really process it because there's a lot of data there. But anyway, I tend to keep it there. But you can, just for grins, you can bring it back, slide that back to like say 100 frames, and it'll probably be up around in the 50s there. Okay. Yeah, well, 91. Now, over on the right-hand screen, you have it percentage, 50%. Zero that out. Just zero that and use number of frames to stack. You see there on the right-hand frame, right there. Click on that pink box that says number of frames to stack and say 100. Okay, and you can keep the bottom. You can do up to 8 different things at one time. You can zero that or keep it there. It'll do both. Takes a little longer for both, but it's okay. Now, when you, okay, so you set that to be only 100 frames, and you're doing 50% frames. That's a good example because you're using 1500 versus 100. Okay, now go over to the left window again, and you have to put some AP points. What do you have it at? 206, 16. That may be there's kind of a sweet spot here. Was something the size of Saturn and all. I mean, some guys, I've seen tutorials, these YouTube tutorials, and a guy will put like six, 7 blocks on something that big. I find that I do better if I do more than that, but I'd probably use a size. I'd probably hit clear here and pick a size maybe at 24 or 30 or something like that. So go up and hit clear, right? Go up a little bit. There's clear that out. And increase the size a little bit more. You click on the up and down arrow next to it. Click it up a little bit. Yeah, try 32 and then say place on grid. See what you get. Okay, 60. Now that's a number more like what I'm comfortable with. I don't know, Joe. What do you use on this?
I'm shooting at a little higher focal length, so but I
You
think
get a bigger image.
but I think space-wise, that's what I would do, something like that, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's
if you're
kind of
not
where
comfortable. You can also do it by hand, you know. You can
just click them on there.
and you know, there are people that you know, they don't follow this at all. I mean, they just do it all
Oh,
by
hand.
hand. They just
Yeah, I mean, I've done both, and
right.
I typically will use about this many on something like that.
Yeah.
I found if you go higher, your results aren't quite as good. If you go
Right.
lower, they're not quite so
Right.
good. If you were around 10, I don't think
Right.
they'd be as good as 60. But if you were at 200, I don't think they're going to be as good as 60 either. You know.
But I think Tom's, you know, I agree with Tom. I think where you are, like, I think that's pretty good in terms of density of
Yeah, that looks good.
of dots, you know.
So
And-
just go over and hit the stack button.
You want to turn off drizzle
should
first?
we do drizzle?
Yeah, turn
Should
off
we?
drizzle. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that do? Do you think? Like,
Drizzle is like an upsample. It's like a digital zoom.
Mhm.
So it tries to fake zoom in.
Yeah, it's trying to interpolate gaps between the data. Now, if you were running at a real low resolution on planets, you're not, but typically, but if you had really monster pixels or something at a really low focal length or something, maybe it would help a little bit because it would fill in the gaps between there. But I've no good comes of it in most cases.
I mean, the only use I find for drizzle is for deep sky imaging when you're dithering. You know, I would use drizzle then. And that's only when I'm processing the image. I'll make it like a 3x drizzle because it blows everything up.
Right. It's
Yeah,
more important with deep sky, I think. In this, I'm not sure why it's in this program really.
And even then, I'll be done processing it in the drizzle, and then I'll put it back to the normal size. You know, that just blows it up for you temporarily. I don't know
Okay,
why they
so
have-
that part's done. So let's go look at your. You can get out of this. Just close that out. Close AutoStacker out. See, I don't use pip unless
where do they save it?
it saves it in the same folder and it's going to be marked AP 100. I mean AF 100 because that was we did 100. The other one was S50, which is a percentage.
where did they?
What
Oh,
the heck?
Is this a picture?
No, it doesn't look like it. It should have a
TIFF.
in there, I would think. Or
it looks like just a file, right?
that's a
yeah.
file, but that's an AS3. It's like the data file.
That was from 2 days ago too. Interesting.
Maybe scroll down.
Did you
I don't know. It should be in that folder though. See that folder?
did it in the PIP folder?
You sure you're on the right day here? Is there another day you did this? That's AS50. It's not there.
916.
in the same file that the movie was in. And it should say,
Yeah,
uh,
it's so weird.
Not
Can you
with-
save it again?
Yeah, maybe we should try to stack it again. Let's
See
just make
where
sure
it
all this
goes.
things. So we should do.
That last one had today's date.
yeah, that looked like it was, everything was right, it looked like, but it was,
Oh, don't use that open button. Go open it in the normal Windows.
yeah, it's open normal thing. You have to
Yeah,
open
yeah.
it.
When you
in the-
click that open
yeah.
button, it's not looking.
Oh, yeah,
pretty.
you go,
There
you
you
go.
There
there's
you
it.
go.
Okay.
I was muted the whole time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was like,
You're screaming, what's wrong with you?
yeah.
It's a little bit better,
So you
Zan.
can see some
That
of
is
the,
true.
the stripe there.
Yeah, now I would bring this into Registax. I would see AutoStacker, it centers it for you, which is one of the things that that Pip does. I use Pip.
Let it finish, Xander.
I use Pip for for making GIFs. I use Pip mainly. I don't know if I use it for anything else, but I use it for making GIFs.
So what should I
That-
use to
At this point, you want to open up Registax.
Okay.
With that and open this file. So open Registax and pick that guy there. But now don't you have to wait to open it in Registax. Don't click on it there necessarily.
Yeah, this is going to come out better, I think.
Thanks for doing this, Xander. You're doing it live. This is great.
Yeah. This
And
is a good
Tom,
way to
thank
do
you
it.
for showing us. You're bringing up some
Yep.
good points.
Turn
here.
that off. Just say no. Just get out. Go here. Go up. Okay. Did you go to select? Did you open it?
It looks great.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
you can
Now
align the channels.
you can fool with you can do an RGB align that's not too bad actually. Okay. And why don't you maximize this window so it's got a little more real estate.
My
here.
glasses.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I tend to every night's going to be different to some degree, but when I get a scheme by sliding these sliders that I like, I'll go down to the bottom there where it says save scheme, and I'll name it something like I'll say 10-inch Saturn, 2X Barlow, September 12th, boom, something like that. And I'll
every
say,
time-
and I'll play with it. And next night, that might be my starting point, but I may tweak it some more. But it gives me somewhere to start because if you're starting at ground zero, don't worry about the histograms or anything like that. Don't worry about that. Just try to sharpen.
Tom, every time I save stuff, I never wind up using it because it's never useful the next night. For me,
Well,
it might be
It's a good
perfect
start.
one night, and then the next,
actually, it's funny. I have about 20 saved, and I might use something that I did for Jupiter or Mars. I'll try it on Saturn. Last year's Saturn, I took one night of Saturn here when I really
Keep
boiling
cranking it up.
to be pretty decent, but it was
crank up
boiling.
two more
But
than one.
Now, one thing here, Xander, you'll see that there's a denoise column and a sharpen column. One of the basic right there, you have sharpen and it's denoise. Now, to denoise, I've always heard, and I believe this, that the denoise should be at least as high as whatever the sharpen value is. So if that's 0.1, then the noise should be 0.1 too. Otherwise, you can really get this thing as grainy. So just turn all of them to the same level to that 0.1. That's it. Go down, click all the rest of them if you're going to be playing with them, because that way. Now if not, don't do 15. Make it 10. Yeah, make it just a match. Make that guy 10. This is just to keep your sharpening noise somewhat under control. You can still get way out of control, but you can slide these over a little bit. But you can just go a little bit at first, and you can bang up the sharpen. See the way this is laid out. The first layer is the finest detail. The layer 6 is the coarsest detail. That's kind of how they're laid out. Now, I read an article by Damian Peach, who is no slouch planetary
He's the
photographer
best.
in Sky and Telescope. He's probably the best. And he says he just uses sliders 3 and 4. Sometimes some of my schemes just use 3 and 4. They never just use 5 or 6 and 1 and 2. I'll have 3 and 4, or else I do them all. And if I do them all, I do them all pretty conservatively. I might just as a starter for grins, you can change all those sliders up to maybe, so like the first one there, make them all like 15. Just slow over to 15 and just see what happens. That's high enough. Or it's just close, 16, 15, whatever. Just get in that ballpark versus like 90s or something. But just do them all like that, and it'll get a little sharper. Shouldn't get too noisy because you're not going crazy. But also, as you're sliding those, you're increasing the noise suppression too. I mean, you're doing some noise suppression, so that's good.
Xander, that looks better, dude.
But
Yeah, I think it does for sure.
Yeah.
well, you can see you have a bright area now on the disc too and everything. So now what you can play with at this point, I mean, this is like the ultimate in trial and error as far as
Yeah.
I think. What do you say, Joe? I mean, this is really
It's the wild, wild west, baby.
it is. I remember when I first did this, the first camera I got, I went to the meeting and I knew Gary did some planetary stuff. I asked him about what settings he uses, and he looked at me like, how can I possibly tell you what settings to use?
Yeah.
And that's what and that's what Ilya Agapio said. He said, don't look at my settings, because even tomorrow mine are going to be all different with my same equipment. Your equipment is going to be who knows what.
Yeah,
I gotta play with these. And
Yeah. Crank 3 and 4 too far. I always crank it till it's bad and then dial it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom's exactly right. And
Yeah.
every night it's different. And I think that, it's somewhat dependent on seeing, and it's somewhat depending on the transparency, the atmosphere, like, and
bring
I
it way over.
listen
You'll
to,
notice
crank
you see what's
one-
happening to Saturn
Crack
here.
one down.
yeah.
Put one back
Good.
down a little bit.
If
I
you
mean,
crank
I
them
listen to
all
all
up, you
these
see what happened to
folks, too.
Saturn.
Now
how it
go
got
down
really
with 2,
speckly?
There you go.
and then halfway as much as 1. No.
Yeah, it's those the guys who are 100 are killing you right now. Slide those guys down to like
Yeah,
mid,
yeah.
There
and
you
you're going to
go.
watch that noise go out of the Saturn.
But when
See,
you listen
go out.
to
But still, it's a little
all these
high.
different
See?
people, they all use different, like, I never saw 2 people use the same scheme.
There you go.
Everyone uses wildly different schemes, and they all wind up at a good result.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get there.
Yeah.
Xander,
You're
that
in-
looks.
If you look at the very
better.
top, there's 2 radio buttons. One is linear, which is checked. Go down a little bit further down. Okay, right there. That lays. One's linear, one's diadec, I guess. And diadec is like dynamite. I mean, it's very powerful. You got to handle that with really kid gloves. These numbers go nuts when you do that. It's almost like it's an exponential type of thing.
Go push it. Let's see.
Yeah, correct.
But last year, my best Saturn shots came out using that. No other planet comes out good using that. This year, I only shot Saturn once. I couldn't even begin to use those schemes that I used last year. I had to make them all linear and Gaussian, which is what I usually do anyway. I mean, I do that for the moon and the sun and everything. I stay in the linear game, but that's not to say it's good. It's just that it's the way I do it.
I would probably increase 2, 3, and 4, or play with them more.
Yeah, 3 and 4 in particular, you want to play with, and you can always click on those little things next to it. They'll just turn those off. Other ones. Now, what you can do sometimes, besides moving the slider, you can also just click where under the sharpen column.
Yeah.
You can click an up arrow or down arrow and it makes a big difference. You're playing with your noise. If you turned all those noises to 0, it would probably start getting speckled again. But I think you always want to have the noise number as big as the sharpen number.
Yeah. So make everything to the right of that the same.
Yeah, if it's the same, you're okay. You make it
See how you have it 0.2
less.
or number 4, make the sharpen 0.2.
But this is kind of what I would do, Xander, like this year. And so that kind of
See how it's coming into focus now. Hey, look at this, Xander. Are you looking at it?
Interesting. That's a very interesting little. Well, with the one that I did before Venus, I put all of those up at like 100 and nothing happened. So I'm not exactly sure why, but I guess it came out okay. I like this. This looks a lot better. There's something else interesting is that a couple weeks actually, 3 months ago, I got these 2 new eyepieces, and I only had an opportunity to use them 2 nights ago because it's been so cloudy here. I have no clue what has been going on, but it's so cloudy and it was crazy because they're 2 inch. They're the Luminos eyepieces by Celestron in the 10-inch Dobsonian. And when you look at like the Ring Nebula, like I swear I saw color. I don't know if it's real though, and we live like 30 miles north of Philadelphia, so I was surprised to see as much as we did. Like in M13, and like in M13 you could see all the little individual stars. I could only imagine what it would look like up at Cherry Springs.
Can I borrow
Yeah,
your
if it
mouse?
was dark, because really the biggest problem with seeing the individual stars is usually the magnitude is they're too dark to see in a bright sky and you can't pull them up, you know. But they're too dim. But if you get to a dark sky, you can really pull
Andrew,
those.
that looks better than anything I've done.
Anyway,
It looks
that
good.
kind of gets you. That's kind of the idea. And you just keep playing with those sliders. And there's no. I wanted a what are the magic numbers when I first did this, and I didn't realize that there wasn't any. So I started asking more people, and they all are looking at me like, "What do you mean there are no fixed numbers? You got to kind of just you got to play with them." But if you're just starting out, I mean. You want to keep it simpler. I mean, I would go low versus high. Like the numbers you got there now, your highest numbers are 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are really the ones like I mentioned this guy Damian Peace and Xander. That's a guy who is the El Primo planetary photographer. He's top notch. He's in the top, 3 or 4 in the world. And he just uses 3 and 4. Doesn't use 1, 2, 5, or 6 for all his imaging. So, I mean, you can try using them all, but if it's easier, just use those 2 sliders and keep playing with them. It's just less combinations to worry about.
Do you think
Anyway, that's kind of the procedure.
Yeah, do you think it could also be my Barlow? Because the Barlow that I'm using is questionable quality. Like I prefer to use the Celestron ones, but I got one of those ones from Amazon. It was on sale and used, and it works fine, but it's a
Agapios boasts that he uses the cheapest Barlow in the world. I think he said he paid $50 for his Barlow.
yeah, from this one I think it was an SV Bony. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I see their stuff.
Yeah, but
This
I'm
looks
not exactly
okay. You might get some color fringing with the cheaper Barlows, my guess.
Yeah, because I definitely noticed on the other picture, if I just minimize this. real
Can you
quick.
show these side by side?
Yeah, sure. So that was the first
Look at the
one.
difference. Look at the difference.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Xander,
Right.
I think your color, the lateral color that you're seeing on these images is primarily
Yeah.
atmospheric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
ADC will
there
fix
is
that.
there is a tab on Registax if you wanted to correct that, if you wanted to shift the colors a little bit. I'm not seeing a lot of color that I would attribute it to the Barlow.
No.
And the other thing is, like Tom and I guess the others mentioned, you appear to be just a little bit out of focus, and that's not a criticism so much.
Yeah.
When you have as much turbulence as you have experienced with this on this particular night, one of the biggest difficulties with having that much turbulence is achieving a focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a real steady night, you're generally better able to see if an image is out of focus or not. But when it's bouncing all around,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
tell. You can.
you really can't
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah, you're
And-
moving the knob back and forth,
Right.
not seeing much difference. If you can move the knob, a tenth of the turn and not see much of a difference, well, you're in
Right.
trouble because
Right.
it's a bad night.
I think if you have a decent night, and I don't think this was really a very good night. but I
It looked
think
like it
if-
was changing a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know if the problems with the turbulence were in the tube or atmospheric, but I think if you can wait for Saturn to be high in the sky and somehow pick a good night, which I mean, geez, 3/4 of the time it's a disaster. You know, it's kind of like fishing, you know, you're going to get Moby Dick if you wait long enough, but
Yeah.
you know, you're not going to do it every night. But I think if you have a better night and Saturn's high in the sky, I think your image will be better yet. Because I think you're doing a lot of things right here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, this
I
is
think
great
you're to be
progress.
commended, you know, that's not, none of this
Totally.
is easy and you have a really good result there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put up.
Now, the seeing tomorrow night, seeing tonight's supposed to be average, but tomorrow night is supposed to be above average. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
can swing it tomorrow night, it's
Yeah,
gonna be
tomorrow
very
night.
clear.
yeah.
And so clouds won't be an issue. And the seeing is supposed to be pretty good. So you might find it easier to focus if it actually lives up to what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Do you
And at
guys
the
recommend?
I was just going to ask at the beginning, didn't you say it was very low in the sky, like below 30 degrees?
Yeah,
Or was
it
that
was
somebody else?
It was right for me at least. It was right above the tree line. I was actually like peeking in between
Yeah.
the trees at that point.
Yeah, the
Is that
higher
about
you
as-
could, the longer you can wait, the better. If you, I know it gets, I mean, it's at its highest. I think it crosses the meridian. I'm thinking 11:30 right about now, or
yeah. It's
12,
it's
somewhere
close to
11:30,
midnight.
12.
Yeah, it's close to midnight.
But if you could, you know, I know it's a school and all this kind of stuff. Well, all that kind of crap. But you got school the next day. But if you could image at like 10:30 versus when, you know, because at 10:30 it's up pretty high. But you can notice with to Joe's point about the atmosphere, if you look at the picture on the right, look at the whole bottom has a red. Look on top, it's all blue. That's all atmospheric dispersion. Because the atmosphere will get, it gets kind of prism-like, and it gets worse the lower you are. It gets less of an effect the higher you can go. But Saturn isn't real high yet. It's still at you know, it peaks out less than 40 degrees above the horizon. Jupiter now is much higher. You'll have more success with Jupiter, actually. Saturn's not an easy target. It's one of the harder ones. I mean, Jupiter's much easier because it's brighter.
I've
So
never
you
seen.
use,
Well,
you use
I've seen
faster
Jupiter before, but
exposures. You're getting more frames per second. You get a lot of frames.
Yeah.
Well, in a few years, Saturn will be back in the northern hemisphere again, but then the rings will be edge on, so we're not going to have anything to
March
see.
of 25, the rings will be edge on, but
Yeah.
it will be unobservable at that point anyway. It's going to be so close to the sun, but it'll be like if we don't see it this year, it's going to be basically till 27 till we get a decent view of Cassini's division and everything.
Yeah.
This is the last hurrah for quite a while, you know.
do you guys
This is your chance, Xander.
You got to get out there every night, buddy.
Yeah, I'm
stay in
trying.
school though. You know,
Well,
don't-
something
don't
interesting is
School, schmool.
don't
my
quit
school-
school over this. It's but
Yeah.
you know,
Quit school.
my school starts every day at
Your
10
mom's
o'clock,
gonna
so
kill
I don't
us.
have to go to school until 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not exactly.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
There you go.
there you
Yeah.
go.
And 10:30 at night, you could be out there.
Yeah.
All right,
Be
does
packed up
anyone-
back in the house by 11.
Speaking of the school night, I am getting kind of tired. Does anybody else have anything else they want to show? Because if not, I want to wrap this up.
I have a ton of stuff, but I can be super.
Well, no,
fast.
let's see.
I'll try to be informative and less just showing pictures. Share screen. I'll be real quick here. All right. First thing, you want to see the difference in blur exterminator? This is can you see everything here?
Yeah.
This is without it.
Yeah. Literally
This is with it.
Rainy.
It's already there's not enough data to even sharpen, but just to give you an example, that's with it, without it,
I can't see a difference.
with it, without it. So without,
It's not move. It's not
with.
moving. It's the same screen.
No, I can
There
see
you
it.
go. There you go.
there you go. So you definitely get some like little crunchy effects.
Now you say blur exterminator. Are you using blur exterminator?
No, I
too?
lied. I'm talking about Astro
AstroSharp.
Sharp.
Okay.
So anyway, that's that real quick, just for something.
Yeah.
One pro tip, I collimated my collimator. Mike helped me a long time ago. Mike helped me to learn how to do this at all and showed me some tricks. So I finally pulled the glue out and messed with the set screws. And I shot it down the hallway in my apartment. And then I put some tape and labeled it. And this was the original, is about a 2-inch square or circle. And then I got it down to 3/4 of an inch. Took a few hours of just fussing.
Yeah.
Good for you.
But a good payoff.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can actually
really.
spin it all the way around now and it stays
Mhm.
in the middle. So
Yeah, that's important. I think somebody, I don't know if you mentioned that, Joe, or somebody mentioned it. Maybe Mike mentioned it in that seminar, that workshop we had. You know, is to make sure your collimator
yeah,
is works before you start using it as a tool.
so I improved it. It took a little time. If anyone wants to do it, talk to me. Speaking of shooting low,
Nice.
Jupiter,
There you go.
2 frames, 10,000, best 25%, and they're 5 millisecond exposures. So I was shooting 200 frames per second.
That's
Wow,
the
look
way
at
you want to
these
be.
Wow.
So you got a planetary gift.
That's really great.
I thought
Yeah,
you were
that's great.
a deep sky guy. That was a good shot. Now this is a whole series, right? Of this is quite a mosaic, right? You're muted, John.
John,
You
you
muted.
muted yourself.
Yeah, so this is using the new Sharp Cap feature, and it automatically selected 3, but Sharp Cap kind of screwed me. And the very bottom right here, it cut the bottom of the moon off. So I went in with the finger tool and just smeared it.
Ah,
But I printed it out a 10-inch metal print. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see that very
man.
well.
Yeah.
If I'd love to get some of Joe's data, because Joe did like a huge mosaic. If we could print some out for the auction, maybe.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I might talk to you, Joe.
I'm sure that's fine.
Cool.
I was gonna do that. In fact, I just, the one I did on that one mosaic, I just printed it. I'm getting it printed now, in fact.
Nice.
But I can
Yeah, I'd
make-
love to see how it turns out. I
make
use
another
this
one.
Bay Photo thing. You can print on aluminum.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I actually did a metal print for the
Hmm.
auction.
Yeah.
And this one company is 50% off on metal prints through the weekend.
Oh.
Maybe I'll do one.
Yeah, I'm playing with it. I got another one I did of a dumbbell. It's a little guy.
Mhm. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So
Very
just
cool.
just experimenting with it.
Optimal Prints is 50% off through the weekend.
Optimal prints. I'll try that.
Yeah,
I'll try that.
yeah.
So
Nice.
I'll
I
finish
love
up
that.
here. This was Helix Nebula.
Helix.
Beautiful.
Super low on
Wow.
the horizon, 30. My and I could not get focus at all. I was chasing seeing the whole night for 3.5 hours trying to get focus up to look good. And I stacked it, one for noise and one for full width half max. So how you stack matters.
Hmm.
And this was my graph. You can see in the middle of the night where I went over the meridian and then refocused. Focus makes a big difference, and I was all over the place.
Hey, a quick question for the whole team. Does I know chasing focus is always a thing, or at least has been a thing for me. Does using a Badenoff mask just get you in the neighborhood, and you still have to just touch the focuser to get that finest, like best you can get?
Platinum mask should get you very, very close. As long as you snap a still, don't do
Right.
a live view. And then, I would do it with your telescope. What kind of scope do you have?
Like a refractor.
A refractor, not a reflector. Then
Right.
it doesn't really matter. Yeah, because if it was a reflector, you got to worry about the flop on the mirror.
Right.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter where you're pointing
Mhm.
Yeah.
as
It
much.
seems to me like for deep sky, Batenoff is great. But when you watch the planetary guys,
Mhm.
they may start out with a Batenoff, but I think they pretty much do it by eye. I think
Okay.
Apios does it by eye, to get
I would
critical
do it
focus,
by eye.
because it's you've got a scene component in there as well, But I think if you're doing like a deep sky shot, that's how I do deep sky. I use a Batenoff pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's primarily a deep sky tool. This is a
Okay.
great shot here.
This is beautiful.
Whoa.
I got 5.5 hours.
The
I sat
bubble.
on my hands,
Oh, I'm half hour.
and this is with a dual band filter, but I extracted it into 2 mono channels. So you can cheat. I don't have a mono camera, but anyone that has like a 2600 MC or any MC, and you use a dual band filter, I know Steve has one. You can pull it into the O3 channel and one into hydrogen alpha, and you can play with the channels or the colors. So I was real happy to get something that didn't
Beautiful.
look like a red duck. So,
A red duck. I like that.
but it looks kind of like a bubble to me. So I'm real
Really?
happy with this one.
That looks very three-dimensional. That's really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Very nice.
That is, yeah, that's kind of a spectacular.
Beautiful.
I'm blown away.
That's about the most I can get out of a uncooled planetary camera, probably.
Very
Yeah, that's part of the
impressive,
amazing thing too. This is a planetary camera. It's not a.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pushing the limit. It's got about 11 bits of dynamic range. So like you can only stretch 2,000 numbers so much. Like, but I did it. I tried. So anyway, that's that.
Your
Very
stars are great in this
Awesome.
too.
Yeah.
Anybody
Thanks.
else? Anything
Wow.
to share?
I have a couple quick images I can show or not.
Sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's see them.
Let's see. Nice. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Just a
It hasn't
little-
opened yet though.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
No, it's doing the same thing that Tom's was.
Oh,
It looks like
Just-
your file browser.
Yeah, we got part of the file browser, but that's
I
it.
have it open here. It's funny.
Open it up first before you share
Yeah.
it. Joe.
Okay.
Blame Bill Gates.
Yeah, we didn't have this problem before, I don't think, but
Oh,
it
it's
seems to be
Windows update.
or a Zoom update.
Right.
Who knows? It's a
Someone
lot of
update your
things.
software.
They can point at each other.
Sorry about that.
It's scary updating SharpCap, I tell you. I never know.
Okay, Bill, take care.
Take
See you,
care.
Bill.
Good night, Bill.
Bill's gone.
You see now?
Now just
Oh,
leave
just the
keep them
thumbnails.
together, Joe. Leave sharing like I had to do, and then just open up your images you want on your local computer, and then just pick them as you go.
Jeez. Okay. Sorry about that.
I don't know why it's doing that tonight.
While he's loading that, I wanted to tell Steve I'm using the L Extreme, I'm sorry, the L Enhance filter, and I'm getting some halos on my stars if I do longer exposures. Oh, I can't hear you, but
Can't hear you, Steve.
you're not muted, but I can't hear you.
Maybe your mic's turned
There you-
off locally.
Yeah, Steve. I can see your mouth move.
We can see you moving.
Isn't
I
there
saw you
sound
nod, so
Yeah, it doesn't say muted. You're not muted, I don't think. It's just
Oh, it's a Microsoft thing. Mine does it occasionally. I have to go into settings and turn my microphone on. I don't know why.
wait, did Joe drop? Oh, there he is. You're right in the middle.
There's Joe.
Can you see me?
yeah.
I see you,
Okay.
I see you,
Yep.
Joe.
I don't see your window, but I see you.
I see you, but I
I
don't see your
can't see
pictures.
anything.
I'm
you see
looking at the
this?
reflection in your glasses.
Can you see this at all?
See if we can see the image.
Yeah, wait, yeah, stay right there.
New way of sharing. New way of sharing an image.
God. Anyway, can you see this?
You
I
sharing?
can see the reflection.
Share your screen. It's not
There
sharing.
it is. I can see
Not
it right
sure.
on
You see it?
each lens.
No.
No.
You're not screen sharing according to this.
There, Joe.
I can't get back to you guys.
Oh, you can't see us. That's weird.
I
I
can
can't
see
see
you.
anything. And I'm hitting.
We
I'm
see you when we
hitting it, I
hear
just
you,
can't-
but we don't
Oh,
see
no.
your.
You might alt tab, maybe.
hmm
Oh, God. Sorry. I can't seem to get back. And I can't find any of the tabs now.
Even with Alt tab.
No. Keeps asking me if I want to leave the meeting. I think it wants me to leave the meeting.
Oh no.
Oh, man, I'm sorry, guys.
No. Well, you look like Jupiter.
Yeah, I wanted to
It
see
looked like
that.
really
No.
detailed Jupiter.
I haven't tried Jupiter yet this year.
Love to see that.
Oh, well.
Whereabout is Jupiter compared to Saturn? Because I remember a couple years ago they were relatively close.
It's about 2 hours later.
2 hours behind.
Yeah.
And further north by quite
Yeah,
a bit.
yeah, you'll see it sooner though, because it is so far north, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, here we go. Oh my God, so sorry.
Okay.
there we go.
Coming, Joe.
Let me
It's
start it.
coming.
Okay, there's the thumbnails.
All right,
Okay.
let's see if it opens.
Can you see it?
Your
We
window.
see the thumbnails.
We're still in your window viewer.
Mm,
We're in.
Hmm.
When you said share screen, did you have this image opened already? Just click on the image. Would you click on the folder?
Let me see.
They clicked on the folder. It looks like.
Mhm.
Right, open the image, then share.
It's open.
Okay,
I'm gonna open it again.
okay, it's
Now,
open
what it-
and then share screen.
Yeah, we then share that one.
Gotta hack it.
We've already seen this small picture.
Right, I know.
That's
This
a
is
teaser.
so
It looks good.
embarrassing. Oh, God.
So you were an IT guy, huh?
I'm an IT guy. I used to be able to do this. I don't know what's wrong. Oh, God. How about now?
Okay.
We got
There it
it.
is.
Yes.
You
There's
see
the
it?
great red spot.
Nice red spot.
GRS.
Yeah, not great
Wow.
seeing, but
Nice.
Still
I
good.
guess that was a shot. That was from a couple weeks ago. And
Joe, just a quick overview on how you process this, like big picture kind of
yeah,
thing.
just auto stacker and WinJu posts. Registacks and then WinJu posts.
Okay.
But
How many frames did you bring in WinJu posts?
I shoot it for a minute, and that's one of the issues I'm having. You know, when I shoot Saturn, I can do maybe 100 frames a second, and I usually leave it going for 2 minutes because it doesn't really have a lot of surface detail. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
and I'm not smearing it so much. But Jupiter, I leave it at 100. I mean, at 1 minute. But I noticed, you know, Jupiter, I should be shooting much higher, but there must be something going wrong because I'm only shooting 100 frames a second for Jupiter. I can get about 99 frames per second for Saturn. So there's got to be a
Yeah, that's because
something in the
it's a
system.
lot brighter, so you should be able to have
Right,
your exposure is going to be shorter, so that's not
Exactly.
holding you up. There's only two
exactly. And it is shorter. So there's
But-
the bottleneck somewhere.
things. Is your region of interest the same as Saturn?
Comparable? Yeah, comparable.
And your exposure is much faster.
Right, so I'm going to troubleshoot that and see. I'm shooting onto a different drive than what's on the
Now,
computer.
What I'm seeing here, Joe, I'm seeing Drizzle 15.
Yeah, I did drizzle this, and it
I
was
have
a
to
little
tell
bit
you.
better. The seeing wasn't great, so I was struggling. So I decided to drizzle it.
Wow. What were you at
Another
F10 or
shot.
F20 or?
Um,
Oh, you're at least at 20
15.
here, right?
yeah, this is
Yeah.
just. Can you see the shot?
It's still the same image.
God,
Uh,
I don't know why.
Can you hit the right arrow on the bottom? Will it take you to the next one?
Yeah, maybe. Can you see? Now that's the one that was up. Now I'm on to the next one. Can you see
There's
that?
still a great red spot.
Still-
Yeah, still on there. You probably have to maybe just hop out of share and then go back in and share your next
Okay.
picture.
I'll be here all night. I'm sorry.
Blame Zoom.
Now,
Anybody hear me?
Hey, there he is. Hey, Steve.
Hey,
hey,
What you want?
what you want? Yeah, forgot what the question was.
too late now. Oh, look at that. That's
I
beautiful.
like that.
Oh, man.
Oh, hey.
That's Jupiter and Ganymede. And I didn't know about this transit. I just happened
Good
That's great.
timing.
2:30 one morning, you know.
Man,
Everyone else is asleep. But that was, I think, one night last week. I was able to catch that.
Wow.
thank God for insomnia, Joseph.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop share again. And oh my God, this is like crazy.
You got it.
So
It's
Joe,
just
I didn't.
Yeah.
When you combine images with WinJupos, you've already you stacked them, you registacked them.
Right.
You got a bunch of images. How many of those images do you put in WinJupos when you?
Well, as many as I can, but what I do is I do a quick run through. And I
Yeah.
look at the number of images that are like above 50%.
Yep.
And I try to catch ones that like are like 40 to 50%. Like if it's at 25% or something like that, I don't include it. So like Agapios does, I usually do I try to get at least 4 or 5. Now on this one, there was only four different videos that I was able to combine because it
That's
just
what I was wondering. It was four because I've only used it once and I've only combined I think
right.
4.
When it seems like when it gets near dawn, all of a sudden, like around 5 a.m. or so, everything goes kaput. And I don't know why. I mean, the sun's not even close to the horizon, but it could be really, really steady. And all of a sudden, like that, it just deteriorates, you know. And that's how it was on this one night when I shot that, you know. So I don't know, but this is just. Can you see that one?
It's coming.
There it
Okay.
goes.
There it
Oh
is.
yeah, Uranus.
Uranus.
Wow.
I did the
Color.
question
Crayon
3
surrounding
years
The other
ago.
day.
Great.
Not much to look at. You know, I could
That
have
is great.
I could have got in Photoshop and done that, you know.
I know. That's what I was going to say. What are you really doing here? I need some.
In fact, I might do that next
Yeah.
time. But,
Cyan dot.
this is
Oh,
Uranus.
it's great.
And
Now, how many points did you use in AutoStack
For this?
for this?
like 5. Like 5.
How
Because
many
I
pixels did you
I
stack?
just read something. It said if it's really small, like Uranus and Neptune or Mars, when it's only a few seconds,
Right.
just use 1. And I never tried that.
You know, maybe,
it's like-
yeah, maybe a center of gravity kind of thing, you know, instead of
maybe,
using
yeah.
pixels.
Huh.
But yeah, that's it, you know. And can you see this one?
Hey, that worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is just a longer exposure. I don't know if you can see it, but a couple.
There's some moons.
There's
Oh,
some moons, yeah.
whoa.
I was just fooling around. There's 5 there. The one on the left end, that's a star actually.
Mm.
So I was just
That's-
fooling around.
Shows how good your focus is. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the image, you know, the image of Uranus there is probably 3 times bigger than it actually is. It's way overexposed. And you know, Jupiter, you know, you can catch the Galilean moons by
Yeah.
just making it a little bit brighter. But on this one, if you try to get the moons, it's been impossible for me to do it without like just
Yeah,
blowing
you're gonna blow it out.
it out
Mhm.
because they're just so much fainter, you know.
Now, do you do this as a movie, Joe, or did you do this as a still?
Yeah, that's
A
just
single frame.
oh, this was a still.
Yeah.
But the other one was a movie.
Yeah.
And this was about only like a second and a half.
Hmm.
Yeah, because about 3 years ago, you wrote an article in the
Yeah, I wrote that
in the
little
newsletter,
article about
and
it.
you had this picture, and that inspired me to try it. I tried it with my 6-inch, and I got
Yeah.
the moons
You
too.
know, the last time I did it, I actually did it for the article with the DSLR, but this one I did with the planetary camera. And it's just fooling around. It's very, very simple to do. A lot easier than getting, you know, a detailed planetary shot. You know, this is actually, you know, extremely easy. Probably the easiest thing you can do, you know, but I was just fooling around at the end of the night and decided to
Great.
shoot.
Well, that
That's awesome.
looks fantastic.
It's great.
Does anybody have anything else they,
Yeah, that's it for me, but
well, thank you for the pictures, guys. And Tom, thanks for that explanation with Saturn. There's a
yeah,
lot that I forgot. And I'm sure Xander is grateful.
Yeah, thank you
I mean,
so much. Yeah.
That picture,
Keep up the good work, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Xander, we're counting on you every night. You know.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, guys.
Get something good posted, Xander, you know, just put it out there, post it on the group's IO.
Yeah.
How do you get to the? I've been looking at the people who post the pictures on the DVAA website. How do you? I've forgotten how to make a one of those like
Go into your folder, go into your profile, and then you want to walk you through it.
yes, please.
All right, let me.
And
You
I'll
want to
drop
be
them.
logged in too, Xander.
Gotta be logged in, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be logged in.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
I also put the messaging group in there. It's a different account than your DVA account, just to confuse you.
Hmm.
All right, let me see if I can do this. Screen share.
Well, he's in there now, if you can walk him through it. You
Oh.
revealed Xander's screen.
Okay, go ahead, Xander.
There he is.
Log
Well,
in.
You did.
Yep.
He is.
Okay, go to your. See here.
He's here.
Photo down to the bottom right. Your website functions. To the bottom right.
Yeah, go photo.
Photo
Out.
albums.
Hmm.
Right there. All right, and from here, hit the pencil icon. And then, yeah, add your photos this way.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Yeah,
the,
I'll check for him.
All right, bud. All right,
Great.
everybody.
Have a great night, y'all.
Hey.